Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Spartan Center here on LCAT. I'm Colin Casey, joined by Patrick Varhue and Matt Rodolakis. We're going to start with one of the biggest sporting events in sports history. Game 7 of the World Series between the Chicago Cubs and the Cleveland Indians. The Cubs breaking a 108-year drought by defeating the Indians by a score of 8-7 last night in 10 innings. Guys, I'm speechless after watching that game.
Oh yeah, definitely me too. It was unbelievable to be alive for such a historic moment. I mean, you think about it, 108 years, it's just ridiculous.
Pat, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it was pretty wild. That's one way to put it. Pitching staff for each team was outstanding throughout the playoffs. In the World Series, I mean, I think the whole series was pretty boring up until Game 7.
It was really a bad series until Game 7, but Game 7 was one of the greatest games in the history of baseball.
And you got to give credit to the Cubs. They were down 3-1 in the series. The Indians with a 3-1 lead, very similar to the Golden State Warriors in the finals back in June.
Ironic.
And the Indians, of course, unable to close the deal. However, they were down 6-3 in the bottom of the 8th inning, and then I think it was an RBI single, and then Rajai Davis, 2-run home run. And Matt, it looked for a minute that the Indians were about to complete the comeback.
They were on fire. They had all the momentum going their way, and then it was the rain delay. 17 minutes, but it was enough to just take away all the momentum they had.
And then, Pat, you think about Rajai Davis hitting that home run. That has to be just sums up the Cubs' curse right there. And everyone thought it was going to happen again.
Yeah, I certainly did when I saw that happen. But Cubs were able to get the win. Their offense was just able to be a little better than the Indians, who seemed to choke in the latter half of the series.
Now we talk about Joe Madden. A couple of questionable decisions. First of all, taking out Kyle Hendricks, who had a great start to that game. And then afterwards, he left in his closer, Aroldis Chapman, after he got rocked for giving up the tying runs.
Not even just that. It was just the overworking of Chapman throughout the whole latter half of the series. And then the questionable 3-2 bunt call with Javi Baez at the plate and a runner at third with one out. I just didn't understand that at all. Javi Baez is not the guy I want laying down a bunt, especially in that situation.
And the pitch was right down the middle.
Right down the middle, and that's a pitch that he could take out.
Absolutely. And in terms of all-time World Series games, where do you think this game ranks, Matt?
It's way up there with Game 6 from the 1975 World Series, with, of course, the Carlton Fisk homer. Mm-hmm. The Bill Buckner game, unfortunately, still a great game. When Mazeroski hit the walk-off homer in '60, I believe it was.
Yep. So
it's way up there.
And Pat, you got to agree that this is one of the greatest games in baseball history.
It was just amazing. You didn't know who was going to win that game throughout. Beginning, easy for the Cubs. Boom, Indians come back. Seemed like momentum was for Cleveland, but the Cubs were just better.
And one thing I'll say, I'm glad I wasn't a fan of either team while watching that game.
Me too.
It had to be one of the most stressful sporting events ever. We now look at the Boston Red Sox, who earlier this afternoon, they picked up Clay Buchholz's option, $13.5 million. Good call or bad call?
Good call. I don't see any reason not to. I mean, he had a great second half stretch. I think he pitched really well. And he showed us that no matter how badly he does over whatever stretch of time, he's always just got something in him where he can just go reel off a few great starts. And I think he's a great depth option for them next year.
Pat, good call or bad call?
It was a good call. They had to do it. It's sort of gross. I mean, he just had a terrible season.
Clay.
It's like, I really don't want to see Clay Buchholz pitch again, but you don't have any other option, so they had to make the move. So.
I agree.
And if it's anything like he pitched towards the end of last year, I mean, you're going to be happy with his play. I mean, it's just plain as that. He really struggled at the beginning of the season, and he really picked it up towards the end. Just one of the most.
After they moved into the pen, he really picked it up.
Yeah, and he's just one of the most streaky pitchers that you'll ever see.
Ever.
Now NFL, Cowboys beat the Eagles, and in an overtime game, Dak Prescott throwing the game-winning touchdown pass. Are the Cowboys the best team in the NFC?
I don't know if I want to call them the best team yet, but I think they're without a doubt in the conversation, way up there. But best, I don't know if I'm ready to say that yet.
Let's just realize though that 1 year ago this was the worst division in the NFC.
So weird.
And they're now the best division in the NFC, where you got a team like the Redskins, who are 4-3-1?
Yeah.
Yeah, and last in the division.
They tied.
It's
They did tie.
yeah. We mentioned last week about ties. We were talking about how rare they are, and here we are, back-to-back weeks with a tie. But back to the Cowboys. Pat, do you think they're the best team in the NFC?
See, the problem is all the other teams that were great in the NFC the past couple of years, last year, the Panthers, the Cardinals, the Packers, they're all just having down seasons, not playing how they have been. So far, I guess, yeah, I would say that the Cowboys are the best team in the NFC so far. I think at least one of these teams is going to get back on track and play like they should. The Packers, the Seahawks, the Cardinals, the Panthers. Somebody's going to be the star. I don't think the Cowboys are really the best team.
Moving on to another team in the NFC, the Minnesota Vikings. We thought they would only have one loss coming into this Thursday. Turns out they go and lose to the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football. What happened?
It was pretty embarrassing for the Vikings. I mean, that's probably I'd say the second worst team in football, ahead of the Browns.
Right.
And they just went out there and beat them in every aspect of the game. It was ugly.
Pat, it's just their defense didn't look the same it has been throughout the first 7 weeks of the season.
Yeah, their defense just was terrible. I mean, this week, Norv Turner, their offensive coordinator, resigned, kind of realizing, I think the ship's just going to go downhill. I think the Vikings will miss the playoffs this season. I think they're going to have a nosedive into the season, and I think the Vikings started off hot, and since that bye week, they've just been terrible.
I mean, nothing's clinched right now. You got a lot of good teams in the NFC hovering around 500 or just above, so one bad stretch of games could cost them a playoff berth. Cam Newton, his team, of course, struggling this year. They just picked up their second win of the season. However, he is not happy about the lack of calls in terms of feels like he's been getting hit and they haven't been calling it. Matt, is he right?
100%. You look at the replays. These are bad hits. These are targeting the quarterback, leaving your feet, leading with the crown of the helmet, head to head. And these are the hits that the NFL has said that they wanted to prevent more than anything. They say that they're making player safety a priority in game and all that, but then they go out here and they don't make any calls for a guy like Cam Newton, your reigning MVP. I just don't get it.
I agree that it's bad calls, but stop complaining about it. That's not going to do anything. Just go out there, play football. Stop making a big deal about...
Did you just really say that?
Yeah. Him complaining about it isn't going to change anything. Go out there, play football, stop drawing all the attention to yourself, and then other people won't be drawing the attention to you.
You hurt me so much. You really do.
Some of these hits have been really brutal.
Don't say anything, just let it happen?
Yes, because when you make it out like, oh, they're targeting me because I'm great, that's just going to make people think of you as a great quarterback.
He didn't say that.
He's saying that they're targeting him.
Because they are. That's what all defensive players do. They target the quarterback. That's their job.
Exactly. But if there's no late hits, why is this not happening to every quarterback? Is it just happening to Cam Newton?
Well, we've seen it especially happening to Cam Newton.
Exactly.
And it's not getting called. That's the issue. It's not just the hits themselves. It's that the lack of calls.
Exactly. Which means that he's seeing that there's a problem. He's saying that there is a problem that they're hitting him late.
He should just keep it. He should just keep it to himself.
Yes, he should just keep it to
himself.
So
how are we going to change anything if he doesn't say anything?
Because
nobody says anything.
Because eventually, okay, if it's not happening throughout the NFL, then there's a reason it's happening to Cam Newton. So
what is the reason?
Is that Cam Newton's a reigning MVP. Like Cam Newton is like right now the spotlight of football. He had the big breakout season last year. He's the #1 quarterback in the NFL last year.
No sense. Oh my God.
There have been other guys like quarterbacks like Drew Brees, Tom Brady that get knocked down just as much as Cam Newton, but they're getting the calls. So why shouldn't he?
That's the issue. They're not getting the calls.
Exactly. So if he's not having a great season this year, so if he's going to drop back down to normal level, and the calls will come when he's like a normal quarterback. Right now,
that doesn't make sense. That's like the reverse of everything that's true in sports.
Then why do you think
the good players get the calls? You watch the NBA, LeBron gets the calls because he's LeBron.
Then why do you think Cam Newton's not getting the calls right now?
Because he's a big dude. He's 6'5". He's like 230. People see him, and a big hit on him doesn't resonate as much as it does on a guy like Drew Brees, who's just not nearly as big as him. So I think if you don't see the impact of the hit as much, it's less likely to be called.
I don't think that going out and saying, oh, I've been getting hit late is going to do anything.
Sure it will. It brings attention to the issue. And it puts pressure on the NFL to change something, or else people are going to start saying things.
I disagree wholeheartedly.
Well, you're completely wrong.
Okay.
Let's move on.
We now head to the picks this week. We'll start with maybe the first Thursday night game that's actually halfway decent in the past couple of weeks. The Atlanta Falcons head to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. The Falcons coming off a huge win against the Packers. Matt, who do you have?
I don't even think this is that good a game. I think the Falcons should definitely win this one.
For Thursday night standards,
okay,
I think
for a Thursday night game, yeah, I'll give you that.
Pat,
I definitely think it'll be the Falcons. Tampa Bay is
Wow.
Mind blown.
just Tampa Bay's not good. There it is. Not saying
And
that
yet
one.
they're still contending in that division, which is now the worst in football.
They're playing the best quarterback in the NFL this year, right?
No. So far
Who's
this
been
season.
better? Who's been better?
Okay,
You would think we
they're
would
playing-
go 1 week without talking about Matt Ryan.
Who's been better?
He's the best quarterback so far this season.
That's
Does not
what
mean
I
he's
like to hear.
doesn't mean he's the best quarterback.
Next
Yeah,
game.
okay.
Let's go. Next game.
All right,
I said this season. I specified it.
The Vikings coming off a tough loss to the Bears. They're hosting the Detroit Lions. Do you think they'll bounce back this week?
I think they will. I mean, I don't know how well they'll play. I mean, I'm still not a believer in Sam Bradford because he's Sam Bradford. But
Fair
they're
enough.
at home. Detroit's not a good team. But I will say this. Detroit has the potential to do a lot of damage offensively, and they could get this win if Matt Stafford can pile up the points.
Yeah, Detroit's one of those really up and down teams. Pat.
I'm gonna go with Detroit. I think Minnesota's just that terrible now. After this bye, they're just looking like what we expected them to look like when they lost Teddy Bridgewater, when they lost Adrian Peterson. No one thought this was going to be a good offense. I mean, Sam Bradford's not a good quarterback. Their best receiver is Stephon Diggs, and the running game is Asiata and McKinnon.
I'm gonna go with the Vikings in this one because you really can't underestimate what their defense has done this year. They may have struggled last week against the Bears, but you're gonna have those type of games like every season. Even the Denver Broncos, they had a couple games last year where they didn't play. Their defense didn't play as well as they usually do. So I'm gonna go with the Vikings. I think they're gonna bounce back this week. This is a really good game. The Pittsburgh Steelers will be heading to Baltimore to take on the Ravens.
Steelers, they're getting Ben Roethlisberger back this weekend. And Baltimore's been in a real tailspin lately after starting off 3-0, I believe. And I think they should definitely win this one. I'm expecting a big game from Antonio Brown.
I agree. Definitely Pittsburgh. Antonio Brown is going to be great now that Ben Roethlisberger's back. Agree with exactly what you just said. And Le'Veon Bell's just a great running back. Their defense isn't terrible. Well, everything about Baltimore is terrible lately.
Yeah, they've been one of the most injured teams in football the past couple of years. You got teams that are usually injured all the time, New York Giants, but you look at Baltimore in the past couple seasons, they've really been hit with injuries. They had their starting quarterback injured last year. Their starting running back was no longer on the team, actually. Their first round draft pick also got injured. I'm going to go with the Steelers, who have also been really banged up, but I think with Ben Roethlisberger back, I think they should definitely get the victory in this one.
At least the Ravens have Justin Tucker, man.
Yeah, he's been probably the most efficient player on their team this
He's a
year.
god.
The Colts will head to Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers.
Rodgers is back, baby. Easy win for Green Bay.
I agree. Easy win for Green Bay. Not that much is good with Indianapolis. Andrew Luck's a great quarterback, and then T.Y. Hilton, who's actually might not play this week. He's actually injured. So I think Green Bay, easy win. Aaron Rodgers had a great week last week, and Indianapolis' defense is horrendous.
Yeah, it's just the Colts defense they've been really bad the last couple of seasons, and there's really no signs of improvement. I got to go with the Packers in this game. Sunday night, Denver at Oakland in the other great division in football, the AFC West. Matt.
Really tough pick. Oakland's been on fire recently. That offense is clicking on all cylinders with Carr and Cooper, but gonna have to go with Denver here because I love that defense, and I think Simeon will do enough to get it done.
I'm going to go with Oakland. I think Derek Carr last week just went absolutely off. He's got two good receivers. Their defense isn't horrible. And
It's not good.
It's not horrible. And their running back, Latavius Murray, had a down week last week. And it seems like this season he's just gone good week, bad week, good week, bad week. So good week this week.
More bad weeks than good weeks, but
He actually hasn't had a terrible season. He started off very hot and then he got injured. But he's been pretty good when he's played, besides last week.
I was thinking about going with the Raiders, but I got to go with Denver, and the reason being is the Raiders just broke the NFL record for the most penalties in a single game.
that was crazy.
last
I was
week.
watching that. They had 22. They got 23 for the record, and then they got another one.
Yep.
But it got declined, so it
Yeah,
didn't count.
like you can't. I don't know how they won that game. I really don't.
It was unbelievable.
And they just barely did. And if you're going to do that against a team like Denver, you have no chance at winning. And I'm not saying they're going to do that again, but I don't know if they're going to improve as much as or at least that much where it will make a difference in this game. I still think that Denver's defense is good enough to get the victory. And like you said, I think Trevor Siemian will do enough to get by and get the Broncos a victory. Monday night, Buffalo at Seattle.
Almost nobody beats Seattle at home. I mean, I don't care if it's really a down year for them. Buffalo didn't really impress me losing the Dolphins, so got to go Seattle.
I think it's going to be a pretty close game because Buffalo, besides their game against the Dolphins, I think Buffalo's been pretty impressive, especially when they beat the Patriots. I know that Jacoby Brissett was starting, but
Okay, that's like a wash, dude. Jacoby Brissett is terrible.
I don't think so. I think when you have he went out against the Texans, they still won.
Because his defense gifted him great field position like
Yeah.
4 different times. That didn't happen against Buffalo, and they lost. He's
Exactly,
a terrible
but
quarterback.
he's a terrible quarterback. I'm not saying he's a good quarterback, but I think you go out and you can beat the Patriots defense. That's pretty impressive.
Not when you hold their quarterback to 0 points.
Okay, I don't really care about this at all.
I'm going with Seattle. It's a game at home. I think they're going to win this. But I just remember that we haven't talked about Jamie Collins being traded to the Cleveland Browns.
Best trade ever. Best
For a third-round draft
ever.
pick. And I understand that he's going to be losing his contract, or they're going to lose him probably to free agency anyway. But if you're going to try to make a Super Bowl run, why not make it with one of the best linebackers in the league?
We need a Patriots fan up here for this because we're not Patriots fans, and we all loved seeing them trade him for a third rounder.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. I can't tell you what Patriots fans are feeling right now, but I doubt they're feeling too good.
We now head to the NBA. Celtics beating the Bulls last night, 107-100. Jay Crowder getting injured in that game. He sprained his ankle. Sounds like he's going to be out at least a week. There's got to be some reason to be concerned about that.
That's definitely because ankle injuries especially can linger, so you don't want to see that. So I think they are 3-1 at this point, so they're off to a good start. I think they'll give him maybe a little bit more time than he necessarily needs to get back to 100% because he is absolutely invaluable to this team, and they don't want to lose him for a longer period of time.
And you look at Amir Johnson, who had a really big game last week. Or not last week, last night.
Apparently
My
he can hit
apologies.
threes now, which is just huge for his game and makes him a much more valuable player on the offensive side of the floor, and gives Brad Stevens a reason to keep him out there for longer and maybe to give him a little bit more playing time even when Olynyk comes back.
And the Celtics just have looked kind of like what we expected them to be. A very good team offensively, a team that may have Isaiah Thomas as their superstar and Al Horford, but still they get big production from guys off the bench. And I think that's what we're going to see all year. And I think it's the reason why the Celtics are going to be either the 2 or the 3 seed in the East. New Orleans Pelicans off to an 0-4 start. The real problem, though, is they have Anthony Davis, who is off to a historic start this season. How long until he voices his frustrations with the team?
You know, Anthony Davis seems like a good guy. I mean, he's always seemed like that since he came up through Kentucky. What is that? Is it not okay for me to say that? What has he done
It's
wrong?
okay. I don't know. I just thought you toss out some basketball stats and you're just calling him a good guy.
But the question is how long until he voices his frustrations. That has nothing to do with his numbers.
Well, you just talked about how he's having a historic start to the season, and he said he was a good guy.
Okay, Anthony Davis is a good guy. I don't think he'll really say anything at any point because that's just not the kind of guy.
He seems like a very humbled guy.
Yeah, and I think, he'll give the typical, just gotta trust the process, one game at a time answers. But I think secretly he is very, very frustrated because he knows he's one of the best players in the NBA.
And he's got good reason.
He does, and he wants to be on a winning team. So we'll see how that plays out.
Pat?
You can read minds, I'm sure.
When did I say I could?
You just said, "Oh, he's secretly probably."
I said I think he's secretly frustrated. It's an opinion. Isn't that what this
Would
whole show
you
is
be mad if your
based
team was
upon?
0-4 and you're playing your ass off?
No, because all the spotlight's on me. Now I'm like the star of the show. Everybody knows Anthony Davis. I couldn't name another player on the Pelicans.
Buddy Hield.
But so what? Don't you want to be the star of the show on a team that wins?
Yeah, but I mean, you trade him to Golden State. Is he the star of the show anymore? No.
Well, that's an exception. Golden State is probably the most talented roster ever put together. I mean, you can't.
You trade him to the Cavaliers. He's not necessarily the star
But people
anymore.
still know who he is.
You trade him to the Celtics. He's the star, but
In
he's
fact,
not the only star.
He gets a lot more publicity playing for a great Cleveland team than he does playing for a crappy Pelicans team that no one cares
I
about.
disagree.
Well, that's not
wholeheartedly.
true.
Mike
That's
Trout
definitely
gets a
not
lot of
true.
publicity in baseball playing for the Angels.
Los Angeles, huge market.
Los Angeles, huge market, and they were good at one point. They made the playoffs a few years ago, and he's the best player in baseball, and he's absolute superstar. Davis is great, but he's not at that stature either.
Okay, well, the question was how long until he voices his frustrations. I don't think he will, but I do think he'll be traded
You
at
can
some
just
point.
read minds, huh?
No, I just...
What?
Whatever.
Yeah, it's
Whatever.
It's always
Whatever you
fun
have
to
to
hear
say.
Next
Patrick
one.
Barr, you talk some basketball. Cavs at Celtics.
When we get to college basketball, I'll just
okay.
toss more
All you're going
facts.
to talk about is Butler when we get to college
I'll
basketball.
talk a lot more than just Butler. I actually watch college basketball.
Not
The
that
NBA
much.
I will watch
Next one.
a
Let's
game
go.
a weekend.
Cavs and
That
Celtics.
is just uncalled for.
Cavs, a
That
game
is
a weekend.
uncalled.
A game a weekend. There's
Yeah.
like a million games going
Yeah,
on. You
well,
watch one a
once it
weekend.
comes to March, I'll watch all of them. But
Oh, wow.
You
tell
watch
me
the
nobody
entire
watches
tip-off
March
from start to
Madness.
finish?
I know more about college basketball than I do about the NBA.
It would be hard to know less. Cavs and Celtics. Let's go.
Whatever. You are
Cavs
just
and Celtics
insane.
playing each other tonight. Cavs undefeated. Celtics playing very well in their first couple of games. We'll just ignore the
We'll
fact
forget
that they
that
almost
game.
yeah.
Don't want to
okay.
talk about that game.
But who do you have?
You know what? I'm going Celtics. No Horford, no Crowder, but I just feel good. I feel good. I feel like Brad Stevens is going to lead them to victory. I'm expecting a big game from Jaylen Brown. I think he's going to really rise to the challenge of playing LeBron, and I think Isaiah and Bradley are going to drop 20 apiece.
Yeah, because, they're just better than LeBron and Kyrie, and they can just...
Well, it's not always a matter of who's the better team. There's a reason you play sports. It's not played on paper. I just feel like they're going to win.
Should that be my senior quote? There's a reason you play
Go
sport.
ahead.
It's not played on paper.
I'm not the first person who said it. Go ahead.
That's just...
You don't play sports on paper. There's a reason they go out there.
Well, you don't play basketball on ice either. I mean,
that's
just give a lot of
irrelevant.
different surfaces.
The Giants
That's just
lost.
not the point of the quote. That's not the point of the expression. The point of the expression is to say that anything can happen once you're playing. It doesn't matter who's the better
but
team
I
on
would still
paper.
I would still predict the better team, which is obviously the
Sure, you
Cavaliers.
A
can.
lot of people predicted the Giants.
Sure,
over
you can,
Or the
but-
Patriots over the Giants in Super Bowl 42.
And then Super Bowl 46, but it didn't happen because you play the game.
Okay, I don't care. I'm predicting the team that I think is better.
That's
which is
how the game is played.
Which is
Have you
obviously-
ever predicted an upset before? Like,
Yes, I have predicted upsets before, but
Yeah,
this is
every
just
week
okay.
the
this is just a
Redskins.
ridiculous.
no, it's really not.
This is a ridiculous
They
upset.
beat the Cavs at home last year.
But
and
Al
they had-
Horford is injured. Jay
So
Crowder
what?
is injured.
So what? They're still a talented team with a great coach.
Yeah, and so are the Cavaliers, and they're just more talented.
Tyronn Lue is not nearly on the level of Brad Stevens.
I'm not going to argue that. Brad Stevens is
'Cause
by
that's
far
inarguable.
the best. And that is definitely inarguable.
All right, I'm just going to go with the Celtics for basically all the same reasons as Matt. I got a good feeling, and I think that, anything can
Not
happen.
every prediction
and
has to
it's
be
not.
based on hardcore numbers. Like, I'm allowed to feel things.
I am not saying it's going to be in hardcore numbers. I'm just saying that it's an outrageous prediction when the Cavaliers.
It's
just
really
so-
not an outrageous prediction.
Yes,
The Cavs,
They beat
the
them
Celtics,
last year.
But
They were
they
a
have two.
game winner.
They have two hurt players.
So what?
Al Horford is hurt.
Far stranger things have happened.
Far stranger
things.
but that
Sam
is-
Amir Johnson played the other night. They got a big man who can step up, even if
yeah.
Al Horford's hurt.
There we go. So it's going to be Amir Johnson's going to take down LeBron James. Oh, and the rookie Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown's a talented player.
He's not at LeBron James' level now.
No one's
When did
saying
anyone
that.
say
Ever
When
be.
did
Nobody
anyone
is
say
saying
that?
that.
When
You
did
just said
anyone
you
say
said
that?
earlier that he can.
I think
cover.
he'll step up to rise. He'll rise to the challenge of playing LeBron. When did I say he's going to cover LeBron? Well, I said I think I'll have a big game. Is that not allowed?
No.
So well, you're basically saying I can't make predictions.
I'm
You're saying
not-
that you should always pick the team who should win on paper.
No, I'm just saying that.
That's exactly what you're
I'm just
saying.
saying you can't pick a second grade team to beat a high school basketball team.
Sure, I can if I want to.
Well, it's a stupid decision.
Well, this is not close to that. These teams are
How about we go back to the NFL and just, take a break from basketball?
whatever,
Just-
man. He doesn't even know anything about basketball. So
Oh,
he's
here we
arguing this.
go.
You don't?
Here we go.
You don't? Can you name me 5 players in the Cleveland Cavaliers
Yes,
roster
I
right
can.
now?
Right now.
Right now.
I will name you Kyrie Irving, LeBron James. Those are the two easy ones. Then I can go to J.R.
Look at him. He's stalling, so
Stalling,
we can
yeah.
just think of more names.
And I go to J.R. Smith. And I'm on the spot, so this is a lot tougher.
It's really
He
not.
doesn't know.
I'm
He
in
doesn't know.
Shumpert.
They're the reigning
I'm in
champions.
Shumpert.
You don't even know how to pronounce his name. It's Amon.
I'm on Shumpert. I knew it was like a different kind. It wasn't like Eamon
This
or
is
I-
pathetic.
One more.
Reigning
Go.
champions, and he just can't even name.
Timothy Mozgov.
No
No,
longer
he
the
signed
team.
with the Lakers. There you go. Next,
No,
next segment.
No,
we're done with that.
the guy,
We're done
the
with
short
that.
guy.
Okay.
The
Next
short guy
segment.
who showed up 2 years ago.
Next segment.
Oh, this
That's
is gonna
right.
be.
We're gonna go
That's right.
back to the NFL, and we're gonna have some more debatable topics here with the NFC East. The top-
Dellavedova. Matthew
He
Dellavedova.
signed with the Bucks.
Oh, for
NFC
2.
East
All right.
quarterback rankings.
That was
Matt,
fun.
just go
should
through
do that again.
go through your rankings. Top the 4 quarterbacks in the NFC East.
Prescott, Wentz, Cousins, Manning.
Okay, and I agree with that as well. Well, I got Manning ahead of Cousins. Those two are playing pretty close. I mean, they're really not playing well at all. And you got the 2 rookies, Prescott and Wentz, who have been very impressive so far.
Very good.
Pat, let's go to your list.
I have Kirk Cousins at number 1, and I'll give you a multitude of reasons why. I know you all think this is so outrageous.
It is outrageous.
Outrageous.
He has the best completion percentage in the division.
By like 1%. The difference is like minimal.
That's okay. He's still number 1.
Not true.
So,
He doesn't have a.
but
he
no,
doesn't
for that
have an advantage of
statistic,
more than
Okay,
for that
all right,
statistic
fine.
is he number 1?
Yeah, barely.
Okay.
It's basically a tie.
No, that's
at
all right.
for
That's all
4
right.
of
That's
them.
all right. That's all right. Then, break it down to passing yards.
Throws
He's
the
number
ball
1.
so many times a game.
He's got 50 more attempts than even Eli, and Eli throws the ball. a lot.
Yeah, but the wonderful thing about that is you go to yards per attempt, in which he is second. He is second behind Dak Prescott.
So why is
I'm not-
Dak Prescott not first on your list?
Because of the touchdowns.
But Dak Prescott also has 4 rushing touchdowns, taking him to 13 combined.
And also, the Redskins throw the ball like 100 times a game.
That's
Dak Prescott does more with his legs than Cousins can do with his, so that's an advantage for him.
That's all right. Kirk Cousins does more with his arm than
He also has more than triple the amount of interceptions as Prescott.
That's all right. But
Is it all right?
What?
Is it all right?
That is all right.
I mean,
Dak Prescott.
disagree.
Dak Prescott has some real big targets around him. He has Ezekiel Elliott, who's having an amazing rushing season.
Definitely.
His rookie year. He's had Des Bryant, who's been
Dez has
injured.
been very
He's
bad.
been injured, but
Very bad.
he's not terrible.
He's had a bad season.
Yeah.
He's had a bad season, but that does
Really
not change
bad
the fact that they are putting their number one corner on.
Maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe.
well,
Maybe.
He's not
and
doing much.
Cole Beasley is actually having a pretty good season.
He's a slot receiver at the end of the day.
But he's having a pretty good season.
You're ranking the quarterback whose team is last in the division over a quarterback
They're over
whose team is
500.
one loss this year.
Yeah.
The one loss, honestly, could have been prevented by Terrence Williams.
They're over 500.
And isn't it probably like the primary job of the quarterback to win the game? And that's what Prescott does.
Herm Edwards, you play to win the game.
Play to win the game.
I'm not saying you don't play to win the game, but I am saying that Kirk Cousins has done a lot this season. He is second in the NFL in passing yards. Second.
He throws the ball a ton. What do you
I don't
expect?
care if he throws it a ton.
Why not? That's what leads to passing yards.
It doesn't mean any. So you're just telling me that if Case Keenum goes out there every week and he just throws it the entire
He's
game.
better than Case Keenum, but if you take a quarterback who's comparable in terms of talent, then yeah, he could easily put up the numbers Cousins has put up.
Let's look at another interesting
Well, I
part of
didn't
your
finish-
list.
3 and 4.
Why do you have Carson Wentz last?
Because
That's
Carson
just
Wentz
wrong.
has the least amount of passing yards in the division. He has the least amount of passing yards per attempt. He
Barely.
has thrown more picks than Prescott.
I mean, one of his picks was just a Hail Mary throw at the end of the game.
Less than Manning, less than Cousins, more touchdowns than Manning, same amount as Prescott.
But less yards per attempt than Manning. Plus, he's just got a better rusher, I think.
He's better
Ryan
Matthews?
I despise
Better than
the
Rashad
Eagles.
Jennings, yeah.
I don't know. Ryan Matthews has just not been very good.
He isn't, but he's better than Rashad Jennings.
I don't know if I'd even give him that at this point.
Yeah, they're both really close, and I don't get it though. You got like I hate the Eagles, but you can't downplay what Carson Wentz has done this year.
I think all 4 of them have been very, and
Like,
Eli Manning has a history of being a rather decent quarterback.
You love to play the whole weapons card, but then you take a guy in Eli Manning who's got three of the most
yeah.
talented, one of the most talented receiver trios in the NFL, and you put him ahead of Wentz, who you have said multiple times on this show doesn't have great weapons.
And I'm not
And as a
disagreeing
Giants
with
fan,
that.
I just want to
that's
point
just
out I'm absolutely
hypocritical.
disappointed with the play of Eli Manning. But go ahead.
I'm not saying that Eli Manning's having a great season, but I'm just ranking the 4 quarterbacks, and I think that Carson Wentz, he's having a great rookie season, but is he having a season? If I'm going into a playoff game tomorrow, I'd rather have Eli Manning start over Carson Wentz.
Well, that wasn't the question. It's just ranking.
In ranking them,
Well, Eli Manning has a playoff history, which you can't hold against Wentz because he's a rookie.
I'm not holding that against him. I'm just
Well,
saying.
you said if you're going into a playoff game tomorrow, well, that's obviously.
Well, I think experience does something for your ranking.
But that doesn't mean he's been a better quarterback this year.
I'm not saying it's better quarterback this year. I'm just ranking these quarterbacks, how I think they
Yeah.
are.
Well, we definitely can agree on one thing, and that is the NFC East has been very impressive this year.
For sure. Well,
Yeah.
Probably top 2 division in the league.
I'm going number 1.
You can make the
that
case,
argument,
yeah,
With
absolutely.
the AFC West.
The AFC West have been good too.
Great
I mean, they got the
divisions.
Chargers that kind of bring them down a little
Yeah,
bit.
but the Chargers have played well. They just found terrible ways to lose.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They could easily be. I mean, I'm not going to say undefeated, but they could easily.
Very
have a
similar to
couple
the
losses at
Giants
this point.
last year. You know, losing a lot of games in the final minutes.
Still a good team.
Right. Okay, so that's all the time we have here today on a very eventful show, to say the
Definitely.
least.
I agree.
Patrick Varhue, Matt Rodolakis, I'm Colin Casey. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Spartan Center.